Sejam bem-vindos à conversa com a artista do File Anima+Games 2022. Nessa conversa, a artista convidada Raquel Meyers falará sobre suas animações, tecnologias obsoletas, estética 8-bit e performance. A transmissão será realizada em inglês e posteriormente disponibilizada em português. O trabalho da Raquel Meyers pode ser visto na Galeria do Banco do Brasil, na Torre Matarazzo, ao lado do Shopping Cidade, de hoje, 13/7, até 14/8, de quarta a domingo, das 12 às 18. Visite o espaço para conhecer também outras animações, games e realidades aumentadas em exibição no File Anima+Games. O trabalho da Raquel Meyers soma inventividade estética e expertise técnica, um tipo de datilografia ou mecanografia expandida, com a qual a artista cria animações em um fluxo contínuo de texto. Eu sou Clarice Oliveira, curadora da seleção de Raquel Meyers na exposição Anima+Games. Estarei mediando essa conversa. Nos minutos finais, abriremos para questões do público. Caso tenha questões, nos envie pelo chat e elas serão encaminhadas pela nossa produção. Welcome to the File Anima+Games Artist Talk. In this conversation, the guest, Raquel Meyers, will talk about her animations, obsolete technologies, 8-bit aesthetics, and performance. The broadcast will be carried out in English and later made available in Portuguese. Raquel Meyers' work can be seen at the Banco do Brasil Gallery in Torre Matarazzo next to Shopping Cidade from today, July 13th, to August 14th, from Wednesday to Sunday, 12 to 6 p.m. Visit the space to also discover other animations, games, and augmented realities on display at File Anima+Games. Raquel Meyers' work combines inventiveness and technical expertise, a kind of expanded typewriting or mecanography, with which the artist creates animations in a continuous flow of text. I'm Clarice Oliveira, curator of Raquel Meyers' selection at the Anima+Games exhibition, and I'll be mediating this conversation. In the final minutes, we will open for questions from the public. If you have questions, send us by chat and it will be forwarded to our production. Welcome, Raquel. We thank you for your participation on File Anima+Games and on this online talk. I ask you to present yourself and take on from now.
Thank you so much, Clarissa, for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, my name is Raquel Meyers. I'm a Spanish artist that works with obsolete technology. And yeah, I focus in animation, installation, and performance. So maybe we can start with a small presentation and I can explain a little bit when this all starts and how's been all the process and how I arrived to this, working with these Commodore 64s and teletext. So I will share my screen now. So okay. Yes. So I think it's working. Yes. So I define my practice as keyboard sloyd. Keyboard is the acronym for keyboard in English, and sloyd is a Swedish word that means dexterity with the hands. So in the Spanish, it's like because sometimes English is very direct, but in Spanish it will be like expanded typing, mecanografía expandida. So yeah. But actually, like I start with analog photography, so black and white, when I was in high school, because I have a 2 years education when we learn all about the dark rooms and how to make so kind of like crazy techniques with analog photography. And this is how can I start to see the world through a viewfinder, like a grid. And in a way, just was my beginning with like working with art. But so I was kind of late with computers that maybe people will think that I was kind of, but I didn't have my first computer until I was like 23 years old. So suddenly there was a change and I got in touch with like musician that works with old technologies and obsolete technologies. like a Game Boy, C64, Amiga. And I kind of really got really fascinated, and I started to make these animation videos that take me to, like, start to work with performance and do live visual performance just using pixel art. But I was using other kinds of software, not obsolete technology, more like normal software and normal laptop. So because I didn't know how to use it. And it was kind of last for almost 10 years. But in 2010, I moved to Sweden. And yeah, and I got as a present a Commodore 64. And that was my welcome present. And so that was a computer I never had before. I knew about it, that, okay, it's basic, but I have no idea how to use it, how to make things with that. And suddenly I got into the demo thing. So demo thing is like these meetings that these demo parties that people that works with on technology, especially the Commodore 64 and the Amiga computer, and you just met for a weekend and you enter in a competition with graphics and demos. That is like a small production of coding, music, and graphics. And suddenly it was just there, and I have to make my way through that learning and everything. And so that moment was a change for me. So I changed pixel for text character, what is called text mode graphics. So that rather than using pixel, using like a character set. And at the same time, I also got in touch with a teletext engineer in the UK. Teletext is kind of like the late 70s technology that was the pre-internet. So when you want to get access to news on demand or information in Europe, because it was a standard that kind of happened all in Europe, you just turn on your TV, trigger the remote control, the teletext option, and this blocky text that you can see in the screen just appear. So it's like a 40 columns, and like 20 rows, and just 7 colors, because the black is transparent. And yeah, just it's pure text. It's like a hiding signal. It's like a hiding information on the teletext and the video signal. And it's kind of start to fascinate me how to use this technology, because in a way it was things that's supposed to not to work. And suddenly they have like an alternative way, because suddenly they were not commercial. So there was no like economic purpose behind it. So it was only users who were like doing stuff. And in 2012, Finland celebrated the 30th anniversary of the teletext service, and they invite several artists. And suddenly, the demo thing, the teletext just came all together and start to focus in these text mode graphics. And so, yeah, so this is also like start to make like illustration with the Commodore 64. That was for a magazine in Spain, like a retro magazine. That because at the end, everyone related the obsolete technology with the nostalgia and the retro, but I never have it as a kid. So it was a quite late thing. So it's also something that maybe my point of view, my way of using it is a bit different, because for me, it's just a challenge, and it was just a tool that it took so long to come to me. But suddenly it was like the tool I was waiting for. Like I could do everything. It was just fun. It was challenge. It was hard to learn. But anyway, it just opened a new world of seeing things and like understanding technology, and maybe just a different way of working. So I started to like do collaboration. This was like a mini residency in the Art Day in Stockholm. So we were like Go to 80, the musician Go to 80, and Posa, that was a coder. So we met, and the idea was like, yeah, the life after internet. So we came with this joke of like, the future cemeteries, like the obituaries of the people would be not your loving father, your loving mother. It will be what internet and your computer knows about you, like how many times you play an Amazon, or how many times you download animation GIFs. So really information that only your computer knows about you. Is not posting the social media. It's just the hidden information. And I kind of like, it was fun to just use that as kind of like I'm using this obsolete technology, but question kind of like new technology. So I really like to play with this because at the end, I belong to the digital era, so I'm not gonna avoid it. But I like to mix this, the obsolete and the new technologies and how they combine, but at the end, how they can challenge you. And teletext, when I start to work with that, so many people told me that they used to check the horoscope on teletext. So that was kind of like the main thing. So I decided to do this oracle that it was like, just making a joke with like, before we have faith in gods, now we have our faith in technology, that they will solve everything and they will give us all the questions. So I made this oracle, this norm that it will give you your fate for the day. So you just choose a teletext page. It's also an online version. So if someone is interested, I can. So you just choose a number page and you will get your fate for the day, kind of like a funny day, because I think it's nice, or it's good to use humor sometimes, because if we take things too serious, like, yeah, we need to digest. And the idea of like using all technologies is basically because it goes so fast that it's impossible to learn how to use it. And suddenly it's like, yeah, so, and I mean, I born in 1977, so I'm kind of like, grow at the same time of technology. So I'm seeing like media formats and things that they were gone, that's supposed to be the future, but suddenly just disappear. So I don't have like this true faith and also like pre-internet. So I kind of like just, always never have really the new one. So I always like, I remember when the DVD came up, so finally I could bought like a VHS. So we're like, yeah, now it's cheap, I can get it. So it's been always like using what you have, and it doesn't really matter how old it is, but it's just up to you to do something with that. And it's something I really like about working with these old technologies, because it requires like a dialogue. So you have to learn the language, you have to make an effort, patient, you have to give it time. It's not like you just get an app from the store and you just solve everything. So you don't even think about it. It's not automatic. It requires that you put some attention, some care. That is something that maybe we're missing these days, like care about how you relate with technology. So, and you don't have this parasite kind of like relation with that. So yeah, and so teletext has been like for the late time, like a big thing. So yeah, suddenly disappeared this teletext museum in the Finnish television that they invite an artist, so he can be like 1 month. So you are, with the weather and the news and the lotteries. So suddenly it's like you find this art, I guess, this crazy monster girl kind of like, so yeah, and this is like, so mixing with this teletext, I start to like do this live typing animation, because in the demo theme parties, I was lucky to get one of my partners in crime. He developed a software for me to create animation using this BBS technique. So basically, it's a software that records all the keys you press. So you do like character by character, you construct the animation. That is kind of like what is shown in the videos, that file. That is just animation that is live typing. So the software just records every key you press. Just so you will see the cursor moving around like animated, but it's actually like me typing. So these characters, and there's like no copy paste, no control set. So if you make a mistake, you have to or solve it or start all over again. So it's like kind of like knitting. So it will be some kind of this digital craft, like you are a digital artisan that they just type in and knitting characters. So you build the animation. Of course, the animation is speeded up because I don't type that fast. I know that. So, but it's just so like everything that is pressed. So you see like all these characters, and people was really surprised, because when you see the animation, you maybe don't realize how it's built. So I started to do this, like live typings, but actually it's like it take me 30 minutes and probably I will make 1.5 screens. So it's like really slow process, but it was kind of like in a way of like, I was challenging myself for, okay, just sitting here, like typing And I always use this joke of like, I was like a secretary, because, you know, the original secretary word is like person entrusted with a secret. So it's like you have the secret code and you just type in and so into the world, and you just put yourself there. And I kind of like the idea of like expose that, you know, I could fail, so it's fine. And you know, sometimes it's like the animation also have this symmetry, but if you look closely, sometimes it's not perfect, because it's like that, it's like a human behind, just a live person doing the things. And it's kind of like, because it was a different way of doing live performance rather than just like, you know, live, like super fast and visual for music. So this is more like a sitting down, really calm, and yeah, a way to challenge myself in a way. And yeah, with the 64, I've been doing like all kinds of work, like from covers for artists like Corset Lore for Empath. That is also, I think, one of the videos. Yeah, I think one of the videos I have. And yeah, another live performance was mixing typewriters, teletext, and Commodore 64. And it was like this text-based performance. So like showing like all these different connections. So here I was working with this musician, Alexandra Nilsson, Swedish musician, that she's experimental. So she was actually capturing the noise of me typing, the sound, so transform it. So we have like a completely performance made on text. And yeah, and it was in Basel for the Net Basel Prize ceremony that we did this performance there. And it's a different, like completely different way of like working, but I don't know, just I kind of enjoy this thing of like, you have to build everything from scratch and just see how it ends in a way. And yeah, also with the teletext, I got some commercial work for Stranger Things, like the second season in Spain. So because actually teletext is still working on the national TVs. So, but it was, what I want to show with that is because they sent me this super high quality frame that, you know, from Stranger Things, and I have to translate it in a very basic graphics. So there's some kind of like economy when you build the animations and the graphics, and it's something I really like. So
this was transmitted in actual teletext.
Yeah, so I mean,
in people's
so
TVs, like they
yes.
still have access to teletext.
Yeah, you can. So because yeah, teletext is still a service. So, but you have to pay. But that was like a commercial thing. So for 3 weeks, you trigger this on the television, and yeah, you can see that, and people was really surprised because normally it's boring text, as you can see. So, and sadly they were not expecting this, but the idea, you know, with this 80s, and so they contacted me to do this, and I thought it was super fun. It was really challenged because it's like and it had like 4 frame animations, so it was really like, but it was really fun to do. And and I also like collaborate with writers. So that was a project called Flan con Napalm. So he's Borja Crespo, he's a writer. So he writes these columns in an online website. Well, and they have a printer magazine called Cactus in Bilbao. And he invited me to illustrate his articles. So I just mix all this C64 also with like, normal graphic editor, so you can actually, you know, mix techniques. It's not like I'm purist of like, you know, I'm just using C64 and that's it. So I think it depends on the format of what you can use. But I mean, the nice thing about the pixel graphic or the text mode graphic is like vectorized, and you can really make crazy things. So I like to mix, because at the end it's like the paradox of the digital area. It's like you cannot be purist. It's insane. So at the same time, I started to do this research. So with Go280, we have like this text mode Tumblr. So we were doing all this research of like text mode and the origins. And one is like craft, like really like embroidery, because at the end, everything, so how I work is like the grid is the framework, and the characters are distraction. So it could apply for cross stitch, because basically a cross stitch or like knitting, it works the same. So I start to mix like this crafting way, like just mixing the different techniques, because it was also like this idea of just reduce everything to the grid and try to expand the character set through another formats. So I got this mosaic theme, because at the end it's also mosaic. The embroidery, well, that was a residency, then when I just used different techniques, like taking out from the screen, from the CCT4. And yeah, so this is also like, so I've been like doing this really small. So this is like a 200 pixel for 232 for 182 pixels, but it's like a big LED screen in Zaragoza. They have this center of digital art called Etopia, and they have this super huge LED screen, but the pixels are huge, like really huge. so actually for this was really fun. So for a month, you can see all these monsters just in the city. So I kind of like feel really lucky that I can put all this imaginary and like, yeah, just things that, you know, are built with obsolete technology that's supposed not to work, that's supposed not to be used, and suddenly just appear in a very like normal digital life. So I kind of like the idea of like you are sort of up intruder, and you kind of like question the way we use technology. So yeah, and this is it was in Ars Electronica 2019. So it was like the 40th anniversary. So the title of the festival was the Middle Age Crisis. So I thought it was very funny. So, and it's kind of like, I mean, I was related to that because in a way also like in the Middle Age, like, but I think I'm not so much crazy, but in a way it feels like a technology. So we got invited by the Austrian teletext service, ORF, to do like a several teletext art pages for Ars Electronica, and they were shown in the super huge HK mega screen, and they were like, this was really cool. And actually from this, so the project was called Inattention, and because it was this idea of like, yeah, we, you know, things pass through us, but we don't pay any attention, and we don't really know, like, yeah. And suddenly pandemia came. And so I presented this project because I wanted to do like an animation. This is the pages from the and suddenly, yeah, I was invited. It was like a residency between Bilbao Arte Foundation in Bilbao, and an art center in Vitoria, and Le Maison des Auteurs in Angoulême in France. And I was supposed to be there for 3 weeks, and I was there for 3 months. So with no internet, and it's just a computer and a phone and a hard drive. So that's and Inattention, the animation that is also you can show it was built there just because I didn't have anything else to do, just read and do teletext. So and all the contents were related to what people, because yeah, some friends could call me by phone and they were 1 hour telling me what they were doing online because I couldn't do it. So like I'm baking or like cooking or like doing Zumba or whatever. So I put all this information in the video, but yeah, everyone thought that I passed through that, but it was no, I couldn't even connect with my phone. So it was kind of like funny, and in a way it was a catharsis. So yeah, this residency. So it's like, yeah, so people were telling me like they were bored, and like, yeah, all the madness with the toilet paper that disappeared, and everybody was so into toilet paper or like just doing all kinds of things. So, and it was kind of like, it was for the first time that I not only did the animation, but also the sound. So because normally for all the pieces I've been working is always with musicians, but this time was like, I want to do it all. So I used a thin can that it was kind of like an amplifier. So they have this doom noise and a Game Boy. So but just mix different techniques or from the things I've been learning during these years. Because I think sound is fun. It's like really fun, but I have a lot of respect. So it was like, okay, let's try this. But I think it's always nice to challenge yourself. And yeah, and the animation was shown in different places. So that was it was in the clock tower in Denver. So they do this like super mapping in this super nice clock tower. So for a month, you could see also the animation there. So, and I kind of like that something that was built in a really like limited colors and limited things suddenly can expand and transform and go to a place like that. And so after the pandemic, so I've been not working so much in animation or pixel art. So because in a way I thought that, I don't know, it was something that we need to change. And I got another residency, but with Borja Crespo, that we did this book together before. And we decided that, you know, what is this normality thing, what's going to be, and we want to make like a dialogue and something collective. So we have this proposal of like, you know, using these old books from the 80s that was choose your own adventure. So, but choose your own normality, because normality could mean many different things for so many different people. So we have this open call and invite people to send us whatever they want about normality. So we did these scenes and like, so we will have this discussion and we put it like the thoughts of what's going on. Yeah, using also like installation with this title that is, so you can write in the old school TV thing. So it's just gone because you're right and the next person it deletes. So it's just ephemeral, but kind of like, yeah, just using this this momentum of like have an open discussion. And yeah, that's in this book also with the floppies, because at the end it's just, you know, that would be, and the funny thing is like technology as would be, you know, our future fossils, because it would be no plants or animals, it would be junk, techno junk, like cables and phones and floppies and everything. And in a way, this is like something that has been like kind of like a change in what I'm doing now, that is maybe not so much animation, but having all these, trying to okay, let's not only like producing content and stuff, but it's also like, okay, let's have an open discussion and let's try to find a place to go. And yeah, of course, I ended in the so like in a yeah. So this is like a plan exhibition with NFTs, NFTs. So they got invited with Kaiserias to just have this like small GIF animation, and suddenly I went also into the digital world, just like to know what it is, but it's kind of like strange and creepy, and I'm not sure what's going on. So, and yeah, so this is like a new, let's just another project. So I moved to a neighborhood. So I built like this teletext service with like all the information of the neighbor. So the people I know, so this like this, because I kind of like the idea of teletext, that is like this secret technology that you can have like alternative ways of communication and connect people. And because there was this news in the Spanish newspaper about like inmates in a jail in Galicia, that they were contact themselves through the teletext chat on the television, and they shut down the teletext service because it was illegal and they should not communicate to each other. So I thought it was funny that how something old and obsolete, it was suddenly like a super underground and for communication and everything. So I kind of like the idea of like building this secret neighbor, like people connection, the people just doing this teletext service thing. And yeah, this is kind of one of the last exhibition that is showing like a expanded version of the animation, but in this totem, like made on wood. Kind of like the idea of same as the thread of faith, the oracle. So it's like our faith in technology. So it's like this monumental, like 2.5 meters, really like epic wood totem. That's kind of like, yeah, use that. And also like building this phoenix of like new technology, but using just mosaic. So it's just use the Commodore 64 character set, but instead of like building everything on the screen, just building in a mosaic or on wood. And I think, yeah, so and at the moment I'm in Denver in a residency that, I got 2020. So 2 years later, I'm here. So, and I work in a project where I'm mixing like teletext, typewriter, fax, and brutalism architecture. So hopefully soon I can show you more, but for now it's just like this image. So I'm just using like, so the idea is kind of like, in a way, brutalism. I really connected to the obsolete technology because it's like raw and concrete and adorned, and it's just direct, like the old technology, like this obsolete technology, because it's like have this limitation, and it's like what you do is what you get. But at the same time, is brutalism with this raw dystopia of the future, like how cool will be the future, and like kind of like the same idea they have in the 80s when technology came up and you have your first computer, like, yeah, we will conquer the future and it will be cool and everything, but it's not. So so you kind of like just try to make a dialogue and like try to understand what went wrong, and like actually like we are redundant and unnecessary, and what's gonna happen. So this kind of like trying to go a little bit beyond what technology, just, you know, for the fun of using it, or like, but maybe just like trying to question and open up a dialogue of where are we going, what is happening. So so that's a little bit my presentation. I don't know if I went too fast or too slow.
No. It was great. It was great. Yeah, and about the
I was
monsters
talking.
also, I think is a really interesting part of your work, right? Why do you choose monsters to represent, and also the aesthetics in general, which are your references?
So the thing is, like with monster, it's like at the end, so monster represent all our fears, and it's like this thing of like, you know, we project everything we don't like in a monster, so it's his fault, he's doing wrong, and I kind of like, and I grow with this Hammer horror films, so I have this like childhood imaginary of all these different horror movies, and I always been fascinated with the, I don't know, the eerie, the what is not normal in a way of like, and it's just fun, I don't know, to use these characters so they can kind of like, they can do everything they want. They don't tie, they're not tied to anything, and it's just like, it's kind of like another world that, because at the end, most of the time we think about the future as an extension of the past, and so using the imagination or creating monsters, like, you know, nobody knows, or just like you cannot tag or normalize or just put it in a contest, in a way just that give you freedom to imagine whatever you want. And I kind of like the idea of the monster always escape, the monster always find his way, and it's just like, it's kind of like a funny way of like dealing with what's happening somehow.
Yes. Yeah, and as we were talking a bit previously, right, working with obsolete technologies demands a whole structure. It demands different cables, power plugs. Like if you use, yeah, the updating is so fast, like you said. If you change your cell phone, you know, if you change your notebook, maybe you don't have the right power plugs, the cables, and everything. So maybe you should talk a little bit about that, about the whole structure it demands, because in art and technology, we know that it will always demand some structure because it keeps changing. And we also had a few events about that, you know, about files, about keeping this working. You spoke a bit about emulators, you know. And so there is a whole infrastructure that should be from the hardware and from the digital part, you know. And also these works keep being lost, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a whole question, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I've kind of, since I learned with the actual hardware, like teletext and because with the Commodore 64, I got the Commodore 64 and I start first with the floppies because it was what I have. So after someone made this hardware that emulates the floppy disk, so you can actually use an SD card. And so it's like this mix of like users that update the tools and the hardware. But in a way, what I like about the C64 is because in the keyboard, you can see with not the alphabet and the numeric, but it has all the symbols. That's what I use, these triangles, lines, and the special character set. And the emulation in the computer, you don't have that. So it's funny because for me, it's more direct and instant. Just use the actual hardware that use the emulation. So it depends on what you want to do. Because for example, I know coders that for them would be a pain in the ass use the actual, because you have to type and it's like more complicated. But at the end, it depends on how you use it and what you want. And I think the feeling of just typing that it's only the black screen, you have nothing else. It's just there, no multitasking, no multi windows happening. It's just you just sit there typing characters and that's it. I kind of like it. And yeah, but it's been like really complicated because the problem with this obsolete technology that you said is like also like for retro. So you have this eBay or the archive. So for some people, it's more for the aesthetics or just for the object. But when you actually want to use it, it just gets really complicated because it gets super expensive. And you need to know the place where you find the cables and like how to put it with your TV. And for example, now in the States, I will need a power supply converter that is heavy. And at the end, it's just you need to minimize and like like all your luggage and everything. So it's kind of like, yeah, bring all this gear, like this obsolete gear takes like heavy power and like planning and also you need the software. So it's not an easy task and it's not for everyone. So I think that it would be just a question of aesthetics, that I just want to use the aesthetics, I will use emulation because it's like my life will be easier and I will not suffer in all these techno problems that most of the time I have no conversions and powers and the computers I lost in keys and I don't know where the key is or got destroyed in traveling. But the main thing of using obsolete technology in my case is just that there's question. I mean, using the technology not for the fetish of the object, but just for the dialogue you have to do with that, because it's like there's no shortcut. You cannot. It's just no. You need to know basic. You need to know how to load the things and get your hardware. So or get your floppy. So get someone to give you floppy. So at least all this research and findings and so it's but I kind of like not as an archivist because it's also you have like this media archaeology thing that is just like store, document, save, but I want to use the technology because I don't know how to use it. I'm still learning, and I think that's what I like about it. Like I keep learning every time I use it, and well, when it's gone, it will be gone. So, but so we are, we will disappear too. So,
yeah, and I think it's also interesting because this technologies like studying your work, I saw some of that. They use different signals. They use different paths, for this, and this can really be a space for freedom, to communicate, like you said, because now, of course, everyone has, their cell phones and computers and everything in social media, but those spaces have very strict rules, and they have a very specific way to communicate image and sound, and like you said, so these spaces are kind of a mystery to us now, to imagine that this information was transmitted as a propaganda for Stranger Things, like I said, and people could just go to their televisions and access that in a specific number, right, on the controls. Yeah, that's really interesting. And like you said, this could be exhibitions also, right? You could plan exhibitions like that, and people can directly from the spaces provide that. Yeah,
Yeah, so in a way, and it's also like, you know, because when you standardize or normalize the tools and the hardware and the technology, at the end, everything looks the same. So it's like, so there's no place for something else, because something I really like from the beginning of all the technology, it was like that you have all these crazy possibilities, and it was like this software and media that they were gone, but suddenly we're like, you can do crazy stuff with it. and for some people it was really like their tool and their way to express themselves, because at the end everyone has his own way. So there's not like, I mean, for me it was the Commodore 64 and the teletext, but for someone else could be like other media, other ways. So I think it's just, you have to find your tool. But the thing is, like, you don't have to impose that, no, I can only use like new technology or new media, or I cannot create content because I don't have the super new phone of $1,000. So it's just like the idea of like, technology should be the tool, and you should find the one you're more comfortable and you enjoy more. And of course, should be practical, because at least we have our daily needs of like practical. We check the mail, we check the contacts and everything. But for me, it's just like, I cannot be creative or like, you know, plan or do things regarding to art with the normal computer. It doesn't challenge me. It's just like, yeah. So it's that the 64 it does. So I think it's just the way of like, suddenly it's like something else that you can use and it challenge you. And I think that's at the end what technology should do to you.
yes. And I think the last matter that I think is pretty interesting on your like philosophy, because I believe that's like what you're proposing, right? A reflection towards technology. It's this passive behavior we have with technology. Even more like you're bringing this religious situations, symbols, mythology, and everything. How that's playing a part in how we are organizing, you know, our lives. So yeah, maybe talk a little about that.
Yeah, so because I mean, now it's like technology is the solution for everything. And I guess, you know, the pandemic and the COVID situation, but like suddenly everything was digital and Zoom, and technology will solve all the problems of communication and we'll not be able to meet. But technology should be a tool, not our God, in that we just believe in that. So I think it's funny how, you know, we just change the gods and everything, like our faith, like everything will be solved. It's just like, yeah, we go for technology and should be fine. And I think, you know, nothing is perfect, nothing lasts forever. It's just like, we need to stop like trying to find, you know, it's a tool that could help us to deal with a lot of things. But there was also tools before that they were doing the same thing, but we just dismissed because at the end it's a commercial value of like, we need to keep feeding the the money banks.
Yeah.
So it's just like this kind of like really twisted change of like, we accepting and normalize things we supposed not, and technology is one of that, and like so many things. And I mean, at the end, it's just like, I'm trying just to raise a question that you can do things with technology in a different way. And this is my way of doing it and raising the question. But maybe some people will share that with me and some will not, because it will be like, why I should learn that. There's actually I have some workshops and people were like, how long you spend doing an animation? 6 hours if I'm lucky. Why? Why you
Yeah,
spend
like
that amount of time?
how many pages do you need to create an animation? Like
It depends. Sometimes I got out of memory. So because it's like the software is like a scroll. So it's just, you just type in until the memory is off. So normally it's like 6 hours. I mean, if everything goes well, I'm like, yes, typing good, no mistakes. But yeah, it's a long process, and yeah, so it requires time. And sometimes we don't have no patience, no time, and not even care. So it's also like sometimes people don't even care about technology. So that's also something that we need to, deal with that.
Yeah, we have a question here sent to you by chat.
Yes.
Let's see.
Okay, so the starting point. so well, I must say I'm a very chaotic person, so I never have a plan. I just have an idea. So it's like suddenly it's just like a word. Normally it's a word, a concept or something that spam, and suddenly it's kind of like very funny because normally I have a dream of like the first character or the first scene. And so until I don't have it, I can't start because nothing happens. It's just like, no. So, and I like to build and like in real time. So normally it's just from a word and I just like, it's like drawing in a paper. So, but instead of that, it's just you type in the characters. So it's kind of like how it does start always, or with a sound or a word, but something that trigger something inside you, and suddenly you have this image, and everything just came from that.
Okay. Yes, and also another interesting matter is the color palette because yeah, initially you had like a limitation and
Yes.
now you have way more. And you usually use like this a specific set of colors, maybe more neutral, very similar to each other. You have a very graphic style, sometimes black and white. So maybe a little about that also.
Yeah, I mean, the Commodore 64 is only 16 colors. So yeah, you have not so many choices, but sometimes it's like limitation can be possibilities. So actually you don't have to think about so many colors. It's just like, okay, this thing, that's it. Yeah, and lately I've been feeling more comfortable with black and white because at the end it was just like colors could be really complicated sometimes. So, and it's like with the text character you use, it's like you feel comfortable with some colors. It's like, it came naturally to you. And it's also something related to your mood or what you want to, transmit or explain or do with the storytelling and the narrative. So the color also helps. And sometimes black and white is just like, no color, nothing. It's just like very direct. And I think I'm getting more raw and straight. So, and it's also kind of like, maybe just for seeing my life in black and white for a few years. So
Yeah.
it was like, nah, no colors for now. So it's kind of like the mood of also related to that. But yeah, it's sometimes it's also like a choice of like, I don't have to think about it, just black and white. Yes, just go.
It's simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're also able to create some perspective, right, with
Yeah,
the lines.
that's very tricky because it's like I don't have education on that, so everything I kind of learn on my own. So I just learn by trial and error. So sometimes it's like, yeah, I can have like really weird perspectives on things, but it's not intentional. It's like probably my lack or knowledge about it. But I think it's also, I don't know, in a way, it's just yeah, it's inorganic. It's just everything is built on organic because yeah, there's some limitation. It's like 2D. It's like two-dimensional. So it's like, with the colors. So two dimension, just plain. So I can just focus in what I want to tell, and rather than, add like cameras and lights and like with all this 3D and like all these projects of like the softwares of post-production that you can have more tools. But at the end, you kind of lost in the technique rather than the content.
Yeah. And what would you say to young artists, or not so young, like you said? I mean, you can start at any time. What would you say to someone that is interested to start working with a new technology, or maybe even just starting to work with technology? Because, yeah, maybe you don't have any ability with it, and even animation with digital tools is very hard.
Yeah, I mean, I must say that you give me a pencil, I cannot draw anything. But you give me the computer, I type you whatever you want. So I think it's just a matter of like, you know, trying things out, because you never know which kind of tool or technology, but you should never be scared or like, you know, have fear of failing. No, it's just, you will learn through failing. It's just like, you need to keep going. So at the end, the question is like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do art? So it's just, for me, it took me like, you know, find my tool. This old technology took me almost like 10 years, and it just happened really strange. So I was like, I knew I was going somewhere, but didn't really know where. And so suddenly everything has sense. But so you have to have patience and just keep going. And yeah, just so try things, have fun, like experiment, fail, but go. And, you know, say whatever you need to say and question the world. And I think it doesn't matter what tool you use or what technology you use. Just like make people think, and like, yeah, we need to change this.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, we have another questions. I'm gonna read it, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, maybe I can send you, yeah, maybe I can send you this question and you can answer it directly later. Okay. So we have to finish the transmission. We're gonna have a transmission next from a file also. So I'd like to thank you, Raquel, for this participation. It's really interesting work, you know, and it's really motivating also. It's critical and it's super creative. So yeah, so anyone who wants to see Raquel Meyers' work, you can see it at the Galeria Banco do Brasil next to the Shopping Cidade from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday to Sunday. Thank you so much, Raquel.
Thank you so much. And I must say, if someone has any question, you know, contact me through social media or mail, and I will happy to reply or send you information or whatever you're interested. So thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it was great to talk to you, Clarissa. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao.